Hello, this is Father Bruce Wilson, the Executive Director of Coastal Bend Community Empowerment here in Corpus Christi, Texas. And this is video number 4 of a 6-video series on Voice of People Experiencing Homelessness in Corpus Christi. The name of this video is What Happened to Us? What happened to us? So, what did happen to us? Many of us are on the streets because of a catastrophic health or a financial disaster. Many more of us are on the streets because of an addiction issue. Some of us are on the streets to escape spousal or family abuse. Many of us come from families and neighborhoods experiencing poverty, which is exploding under the economic conditions of systemic inequalities combined with this quickly growing income and wealth gap in our country. Far too many of us are aged out foster youth who have no place to go. Some of us were bused to Corpus Christi from other communities. We hear that story a lot. But most of us grew up here in or near Corpus Christi. Nearly all of us have, number one, suffered a profound loss of family and supportive friendship networks, and or we are victims of chronic or sometimes acute childhood trauma which we have not been able to resolve. Yes, we make poor choices. Yes, we use self-defeating behaviors. Yes, we self-medicate with street drugs. Yes, we don't take ownership or responsibility for our impact or footprint on the property or the environment of those even who provide our basic necessities. Yes, we appear lazy and irresponsible. The right question to ask us, however, is not, what's wrong with you? The question to ask us is, what happened to you? What happened to make you think this way, feel this way, behave this way? What happened? And the answer to that question is almost always one particular underlying condition, one primary root cause. What happened to us involved some significant level of trauma which we have not been able to resolve. Please understand, if it was just a bad experience that we could shake off, that wasn't trauma. If it is something we can just talk or meditate or pray our way out of, that's not trauma. Real trauma, the trauma that we're talking about that puts people on the streets, is an overwhelming, life-threatening experience, like catastrophic loss, domestic violence, abuse, abandonment, or in some cases, simply emotional or physical or medical neglect that robbed us of a sense of personal safety and personal power over our social or physical environment. There might be no way to explain why we were so overwhelmed by some adverse experience or another, and other people might not have been. Each of us experience similar situations differently, and we never know what might trigger us to re-experience the devastation and the fear of our trauma, which never stays put in our past. It's a recurring loop in our trauma brain. We do not remember trauma. Like in the front prefrontal cortex of our brain, we re-experience trauma. We don't remember it, we re-experience it over and over again. Trauma did not just overwhelm us once, it overwhelms us every time we re-experience it. That's trauma. Our trauma robbed us of basic trust, which normally develops in the first 18 months of life. As long as our trauma is unresolved, we continue to have trust issues. We don't trust life. We don't trust people, even people who say they want to help. We don't trust each other. We don't trust ourselves. Even if we learn to trust your intentions, We cannot get our hopes up that you will really be able to help us. We cannot let ourselves be vulnerable, because that's how we were emotionally injured in the first place. Our laziness and irresponsibility are typical trauma symptoms. Our inability to stay focused and make better choices are symptoms of something deeper, something much more ominous. Our addictions are just another symptom, a coping mechanism, a moment of relief with long-term consequences. If you only know us by our symptoms, you don't know us. You don't understand that our self-defeating behaviors are trauma-based. Our problem is not about character, it's about being emotionally, mentally, and behaviorally hijacked by our trauma brain. This is a brain injury. This is a physiological, biopsychosocial issue. And then not having relationships to help us to co-regulate our emotions and behaviors, or not ever developing our own inner regulation skills. Our problem is that on the streets, we lose ourselves, like the prodigal son who didn't come home until he came to himself, until he got to the core of his own trauma. In the next video, we're going to talk about getting to the core of the trauma. First, you'll have an opportunity to hear a bonus video with a discussion with Rose Garcia, who's one of my friends from the street, about herself and about trauma. So next video, getting to the trauma. I'll see you there.